Hello again, and I am here today to talk to you about why I think journalist unions are a joke. And forgive me if I start heaving in the middle of it, but sorry, I just find it incredibly funny that a bunch of people who work at a media company think that they belong in the Writers Guild of America because they write clickbait. But anywho, so we're going to get into the topic. I believe that I saw journalists at Vice unionize first around 2017, 2018. Like right when the Facebook bubble burst and they stopped recommending videos and articles, and the whole concept of a rage bait really kind of started dying out because Facebook realized, oh wait, we're not connecting people to people anymore. We're connecting people to media companies. Oh, I guess that's not what we're supposed to be doing. Huh. And so they cut the cord on these media companies who were making videos and articles with tons of views. The videos themselves were in the millions for just absolute rage bait. You know, you got your Now This, you got your Mike.com, you got your Vox, you got your Vice. All this shit fucking imploded after Facebook decided to change the algorithm so that people can actually connect together. And with this, the journalist unions felt that they were being the journalists themselves, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself, thought they were being undercut because, gee, I'm not making as much money as I did last month because journalists still live on a rent-to-rent paycheck basis. And so they're like, well, all my friends in actual entertainment are unionized. Why shouldn't we unionize? And so you started seeing the Vice union, and then the Mike union, I believe, and then the Vox union. And I don't know if Now This is a union, but if they do, I'm going to fucking lose my marbles. But, you know, all this missing link media, as it's called, in which it's not really mainstream, but it operates with the same level of authority as the mainstream. And so these companies have unions full of journalists, full of the quote-unquote content producers. And because some of these people do genuinely believe in socialism and communism, they believe that they own the means of production. But what they don't realize is that a lot of the CEOs are disgruntled journalists. Ezra Klein, the founder of Vox Media, was a disgruntled New York Times journalist who was fired for having a journo list in which they would coordinate and email and plan and strategize together. And so then he founded Vox Media, and, you know, he might not be a man of the people or down to ground on the earth anymore, but he still technically was a journalist. And once a journalist, folks, always a journalist. And so with the advent of these journalist unions, the thing I find the worst about them specifically is the fact that the Writers Guild of America endorses these unions and supports them financially, because ultimately these unions are all going to collapse, because unlike the WGA, they are tied to the companies that they work for. When you typically sign up for a union, you have to pass a test. You have to go through all these hoops and hurdles. You have to make sure that, you know, you're physically able to do whatever job you're supposed to be carrying out. You know, you have to do a drug test. And with these journalist unions, they are just informal, organized workers collectively bargaining their companies. Now, the second part that I find incredibly egregious about the journalist unions is that these companies are going to fold like a shitty table at any minute now. And yeah, you might laugh and think, oh, that's going to take a while. You might be waiting. But, you know, I'm a patient person. I can wait, because I know in the end it will be worth it to see these people squirm when they're fucking fired because there's no money to go around at the office. So when that happens, these unions will have nowhere to go. They will have lost all of their infrastructure because they do not have the collective bargaining that a union provides post-partum, post-firing. And so instead, they will have to either reorganize, and yeah, realistically they will, but I really fucking hope not. or they'll just have to find new careers, learn to code, as the old phrase goes. And with all that said, I truly feel like, why the fuck did an entertainment union sponsor these journalist unions? And it's obvious to me that, it's because they share the same values and worldviews. A lot of the unions started out in LA and then they branch. The International Alliance of Theatrical and Stage Employees, otherwise known as IATSE, is a global union, if not just national. And what they allow is for people to work in these entertainment fields. And if you're not satisfied with the living area, you just have to have a certain amount of hours accrued already, and bing, bang, boom, you could switch unions. You could switch unions within IATSE, like that. And so these journalists, who are primarily based in like New York and Washington, and maybe a couple of them in LA, and there's obviously some freelance work being done at these companies, but at the same time, they're just gonna fold. I mean, Salon had to sell their fucking offices, and Salon.com was a notorious far left blog that just gained all this traction. I mean, and they, the really big thing, though, beyond just laughing at journalist unions, beyond just laughing at these companies, is knowing the fact that they did lie to their investors. A lot of the journalists, not organizations, but a lot of these companies, these media companies, are funded through venture capital, through financing, which is even funnier when you consider a lot of the money that's being peddled into those companies. If they were to really know these people, the journalists would revolt over the fact that they have to acquire venture capital to fund their little fucking blogs. And yeah, I haven't gotten into BuzzFeed, but to be honest with you, I think BuzzFeed has lost all its power, and to me, they're not really as relevant as like a Vice, a Vox, especially after the adpocalypse. Vox is just a joke. And Mike.com, who still get to do the occasional Facebook video every once in a while. Even though good old Jack Smith IV became a statistic in the hashtag MeToo movement. That fucking chud. Anywho, my overall point, though, is that these journalist unions are a fraud, are a lie, are a huge joke, and they do not exist for the collective bargaining of the people that they work for. They exist so that journalists can maintain their jobs, maintain their office spaces, maintain, their sense of authority on the globe. And these people do know that their time is coming up, and some of them jump ship. But others, like I would say David Pakman or Sam Seder, they think they can use YouTube to go back or to go into mainstream media directly. And I just would like to say to them, you probably are doing better on your own than these journalists have ever done in their lives. So stop being stupid and realize that you can still shill for all these establishment narratives while at the same time, making a name and money for yourself. Like, you don't need the infrastructure of the mainstream media anymore. And once you guys realize that, I think you'll be as promoted as like CNN, because once they realize that oh shit, fucking Vice is no longer a functioning company, and in fact is filed for Chapter 11, they're gonna have to promote somebody to keep the machine going, keep the agendas flowing. So it might as well just be fucking David Pakman or Sam Seder or Kyle Kulinski. So with all that said, I am going to wrap up on the journalist unions are stupid. They really make no sense. They will dissolve, and then the journalists will be needing to learn to code. Yeah, they really should start now. I mean, even though it is a big meme, I kind of want to learn coding for my own purposes to, maybe make applications in the future. Who knows where technology is really going to lead us? I know a lot of people like to be black-pilled on technology and say, "Oh, it's just a fucking phase, man. Like, we're just going to be hooked up into the machine once it's all said and done." But to me, even though technology is a burden on society, it's better to know it and navigate your way through it than it is to reject it outright and then get mad when fucking nobody knows who you are because you're a literal dinosaur. And these journalists should really, if they want to actually have a career beyond their 30s in journalism, really consider maybe becoming a public person and a personality and somebody with, a YouTube account. And, some fucking professor said about Tim Pool, and he's used this to describe himself a lot, that Tim Pool is the future. And yeah, it does sound a little egotist that he quotes that professor, but I believe that that professor is right on the money, because all these media companies are going to fail or are failing currently. They do not have the infrastructure to keep their employees full-time. These employees who, will rail against other media companies, other users, other people who are, quote-unquote, taking their jabs because nobody's listening to us. Well, it's too fucking bad that you bought the blue pill and ate it and swallowed it and kept swallowing it and bought more blue pills and are just blue pill shills. But in reality, this is the bed that you've made for yourselves, and now you have to lie in it, and it's up to you to either make the bed better or to just wallow in your own filth. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this commentary, and tread lightly, journos.